What is going on, everybody? Another Super Duty. Welcome back to the channel. You guys have seen lift. You guys have seen this glorious floor. I really like the floor. And you guys have seen the banner. A lot of surroundings have changed, and we're going to talk about what I have going on at this new adventure here at the shop. All right, guys, let's get into it. All right, everybody, thanks so much for coming back and checking this out. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Big shout out to Ventech, LHG. We've acquired a pretty major sponsor, VentechLHG.com, and they were very instrumental in us getting this space and the area that we can continue to make content for you guys and do what I love most is fix these Super Duties. I don't care what color, what shape they come in, as long as it's a Ford and it has my 6.7, you will find your new repair home here on site with me, PTT, at Ventech spot here in southeastern Michigan. So you guys are probably wondering who Ventech actually is. We were fortunate enough to partner up with them at the end of last year, and we had an opportunity to actually put their component, the liquid heat generator, that's Ventech LHG, on a 2020 Super Duty who had the single alternator. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was that green spruce truck, one of my favorite colors on the Super Duty. And he was in the Metro Detroit area, and we were able to install this on his truck to help the engine get up to operating temperature way faster than if it did not have it on it. This can be equipped on trucks that have the supplemental heat. It is only good for trucks that have single alternator, because this sits in the position on the truck right down here where you would have the secondary alternator. So I'm going to put a link in the description of this video so you guys can check that out and see what Ventech makes. And in that video, you have a side-by-side comparison of having a truck with this and a truck that did not, and how much difference it actually made heating up the passenger compartment, just generating heat by pumping coolant. It's pretty genius in how this actually works. It's like a mini torque converter and how it shears the fluid. And it got broken down to me by thinking of the coolant as one molecule. We have a whole bunch of coolant, a whole bunch of molecules, but let's break it down to one molecule. As that one molecule is flowing in, because we're tapping into the cooling system, as it goes into this pump, that molecule gets chopped. And then those two molecules now float around and get chopped again because it's constantly shearing the fluid as it's being pumped. Well, what happens to something when we cut it and we shear it? It heats up. Well, take that molecule and make it 10 jabillion, kabillion, jabillion molecules, and adding all those calories of heat. And that in turn is what makes this an excellent heat pump to bring up your Super Duty or Duramax or Cummins up to operating temperature. Not only is it just for Power Stroke, they have it for all the other makes and models. So they were in the off-road applications, generators, equipment, stuff that is running a load and maybe isn't getting utilized to its full potential. So now they're in the on-road applications, doing school buses and motor coaches, and now it is fitted retrofitted to be on all the big three diesel engine applications. So Ventech LHG, got to ask yourself, do you have a secondary alternator? And, hey, we got Jeremy over here. Hey, Jeremy, why don't you come over here? We're going to ask him a couple questions. This is the man
What are you guys up
who has developed this LHG, and after installing it and seeing it actually work and the difference on how this warms up, how did you come up with this contraption?
Well, there's an interesting question. Have we got 2 hours?
I don't know if we've got 2 hours.
I'll tell you a very quick story. I landed in America on Devil's Night, 1990, all right? It was a really, really cold night, and I got off the plane and went to my rental car, and I immediately thought about, I climbed in this rental car, and it was so flipping cold in this car, and I was waiting for it to warm up, and I thought, God, how come we have to wait for, for the engine to warm up to get cabin heat? So the origins of this technology, when I first invented it, was all about cabin heat, okay? And I, back then, was in the dynamometer business, the hydraulic dynamometer business. And a hydraulic dynamometer is a little device, and it measures horsepower on an engine. It converts work, it converts mechanical energy from a crankshaft of an engine, and the energy is absorbed by heating up the coolant inside a dynamometer. So I spun it on its head and said, let's make a machine where we can take work from an engine and produce hot water. And my first development work was just about cabin comfort, instantaneous cabin heat without having to worry about the engine warming up. Now, over the years, the requirement has changed. Now we're much more attentive to emissions and after-treatment components. And of course, if you've got a fully heated engine, a diesel engine at full operating temperature, it's much more healthy. The after-treatment is much more healthy. The emissions are better. The fuel economy is better. So the focus sort of morphed from just cabin comfort, really more towards engine well-being and after-treatment well-being. And that's how, in the early days, we were just focused on very, very rapid, 100 degrees in 100 seconds, heat now in the cabin. And over the years, when we've gone into school buses and diesel pickup trucks and other things, really the focus today is much more about engine welfare, engine health.
And generators too, right?
And of course, generators. I mean, basically anywhere where there's a diesel generator or a diesel engine in a condition where the load can go from out of, off the power curve of the manufacturer, an engine manufacturer will say, this is the operating curve and you want to be within this curve. Well, in a diesel generator, when the generator is not being loaded, you're off the curve, you're below the power curve of the engine, and therefore the engine doesn't heat up. And that causes all sorts of problems with diesel generator manufacturers. They have to periodically load bank to burn off all the soot that's built up in the engine. You have DPF problems. So, we've done all sorts of applications where there's a diesel generator, again, whether it's a school bus or a pickup truck or a diamond cutter or a diesel generator. Our technology gets this engine to full operating temperature almost immediately, within minutes. And then, of course, the added load is driving up the exhaust gas temperature, which is helping with the after-treatment components. So, again, it began as pure cabin comfort, and now it's much more focused on the health of the engine.
So I guess that brings me really into my next question, which you've kind of already answered, is why would a diesel owner want an LHG on their engine? Well, you've already touched on one of the very most important ones is cabin heat, but inadvertently, we're also keeping those EGTs high. As you guys remember, I was talking about post-combustion and keeping temperatures hot so that we don't get wet stacking. That's a big thing that we have in the generator world when we have these triaxle, double axle generators that are huge. People are renting them and just plugging in a toaster oven. Well, that generator is never getting it to its full potential and is never heating up. So that's one of the reasons, especially in that applications, maybe not so much in the pickup application, but we're seeing differences with the temperatures and the EGTs that are going to sustain the regen that is going to keep the yellow
check engine light off. And then in turn, you're going to have super awesome passenger heat, especially in the cold weather climates.
I mean, it's a blend of all these benefits, as you say. Obviously, the after treatment components are very expensive to repair, replace. You know, cabin comfort it's an important thing. I mean, the diesel pickup trucks are, you know, renowned for just having dismal heaters, especially in very cold climates, defrost, idling, reducing idling. You know, you see people with trucks just leaving them running non-stop, either because they're going to have trouble starting or because you know, they just take so long to warm up once they get going. So there's a whole, you know, battery of gains of this technology.
Absolutely.
But running the engine at normal operating temperature is key. We get there very quickly. We don't do it in an abusive manner. We simply heat up the coolant very fast.
You guys saw in the beginning of the video the truck that had the LHG and the truck that did not. And you guys could see numerally the temperature coming out of the vent versus the truck that did not. So I don't know for you, I mean, that's a selling feature for me.
Yep.
You're pumping out 135, 140 degree heat already, you know, out the vents.
We did some back-to-back testing a long time ago, and I think there's a video on our website where we side-by-side tested a Dodge Ram gas. I forget the engine. The Dodge Ram was a V8 of some description, and an identical Dodge Ram with the Cummins engine in it, and we idled them. It was below freezing, I forget the temperature, but we just showed them idling side by side. They had the same amount of frostbite about the windshield, and the diesel truck, with the Cummins powered truck with the LHG, significantly outperformed both the warm-up and the cabin comfort of a gasoline equivalent truck. You're on a Silverado diesel pickup truck. We did a lot of back-to-back testing with that, with the 6.6 Duramax. I used to drive our Duramax Silverado from my house in Milford, about 20 miles away, and we had an indicator where on the dashboard we could see when a thermostat basically opened. And if I parked it outside my house, I have a 300-foot driveway. When I got to the end of my driveway, we had thermostat opening, and we were at temperature.
No
and in comparison, driving, you know, down here from Milford, about 20 miles away to here, we were somewhere on Wixom Road, you know, around about the Ford plants when we finally reached thermostat temperature. So, I mean, it's that radical. It's you know, it's almost immediate cabin comfort, and you know, if you've got heat in the cab, you've got heat in the engine. And as I said, you know, these engines are now very expensive. They're very complicated. In the old days, it was more just sooting up and wet stacking. Now you've got a lot of after treatment components which can you know, go south on you.
Nobody wants after treatment problems. Trust me, it's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's a very elegant solution. It's very compact. You know, we always find a good location for it on the Fiat. It's two hoses. We supply with a controller. It's a nice, easy install. And once it's installed, there's really nothing to do. It takes care of itself.
It just pumps coolant. So now we're actually going to show you guys the testing that they do on the LHG before you get your component. So I think you should go and do that, and then maybe a shop tour.
Head over to the building and maybe show them a few of the other little projects we're working on.
All right, guys, come on. So we're going to be actually coming into Ventech's lab, and this is where they build and get ready to ship out all the LHGs for the Power Strokes, Duramaxes, and the Cummins. But what we have over here, before they ship every one of these, they have to test it. And they have a jig that they put every single LHG in before they ship it. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pop this baby in the receptacle, put the belt on, and hook up the coolant lines and a couple of electrical connectors, and we're going to get this puppy tested. So imagine this sitting on your 6.7 front accessory drive area, and kind of where the secondary alternator would go, and it would be hooked up with a new belt and same stock tensioner. We got a couple of wire harnesses that go to one of their modules, like you saw in the video that I put in the description. But this is pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna swing the door closed, and now we're gonna get rocking and rolling. We're gonna start a test, and right now what we're gonna do is, wait till you hear the noise, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now it is actually kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, breaking in the clutch. Breaking in the clutch, getting anything or any impurities or dirt or I guess the newness off of it. So it's kind of like you're seating in your brake pad. You're seating in this clutch material on the front of the LHG. It's just like a mini AC compressor style clutch. But once that is done, it does it that many times, each one of them. And then once it's done, it starts pumping some coolant at various RPMs and takes the temperatures and actually calculates the kilowatt BTUs of the output of this apparatus. So right now, it's going to run 4 test steps. It's going to go 1,000 RPM, 2,000 RPM, 2,500 RPM, and 3,000 RPM. It's going to measure this in kilowatts, and you can see it spinning here. 1 kilowatt is equal to about 3,400 BTUs. And then here, the next step at 1,000 or 2,000. That's producing 27,000 BTUs. And then when it goes to 2,500 RPM, it's going to be at 34,000 BTUs. And its final test step at 3,000 RPM, it's going to be pumping out 41,000 BTUs worth of coolant that is warm going into the passenger compartment. So 27,000 BTUs, let alone 41,000, is pretty significant when you're talking about adding heat to fluid via this contraption called the LHG, the internals of it, just like a small torque converter, just shearing that coolant and thus creating friction, turning that into British thermal units and heating the passenger compartment. So the last thing we got to do, or the last thing that Ventech has to do, is we need to check the clutch and make sure it is torqued before it is shipped out. And he's going to grab the torque wrench and torque it up. Max torque, would you say we're going to?
85 Newton meters.
85 newties. All right, all right.
Correction.
Passed. 85, 88, it passed. All green. Look at that at 3,000 RPMs. It's making 11.91 kilowatts. And you guys remember the conversion? That is some significant freaking heat. I like it. All of the different RPM ranges, they got a max and a min. That tested all in green. I like it. Well, I'm glad you guys got to come take a tour around the sweet setup we have here, courtesy of Ventech LHG. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of the new setup. What do you guys think of the floor? What do you guys think of the hoist? Are you going to be bringing your truck here to get some mods, such as we just did here, or do you actually need a repair done because you are stranded or were stranded on the side of the road? Whether it's a Super Duty, another Ford vehicle, or if you have a single alternator and want to put that Ventech LHG on it, let me know. Drop me an email or hit me in the comments, and we will talk further about how we can get your Ford vehicle A1. I thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, sub, share, and I will catch you guys all back here on the Super Duty here at the new shop. All right, guys, see you. All right, come check this out. I didn't know that Ventech was this deep into making way cool stuff, but this is kind of like the Ventech skunk works, so to speak. Check out these little Kubotas. These contraptions, this whole contraption, this Ventech Arctic heat generator actually sits on the side of the frame on the truck ice road trucker area. People, these are keeping the passenger comforts nice and warm. These are keeping the equipment nice and warm, and in some cases keeping some of the products that these trucks are carrying above freezing so that we don't have any issues with stuff freezing and getting too cold. Way cool. I like that Kubota Pacer engines. I think this is a Kubota. Is it? Oh yeah, right there, Kubota. One more thing, come over here and check this out. Now I know you guys would be wanting to keep that vehicle clean or the home range. What about a heated pressure washer? This is one of two. Check it out, very compact, electric start. Even got the old Honda on there, but if you are wanting to check out the hot wash, this also has that LHG that you guys saw me test earlier. You want the small one, check out this big one. The small one is about 2,500 PSI, and it gets to, I think, 2 gallons a minute. This one, dude, this goes down to steam, almost boiling, 212 boiling, but kick it down to about 200, get that nice hot steam. This is another engine, belt driven. Over here on the other side, another lovely Ventech LHG, keeping this water piping hot. Whatever your needs are, if you got a small pressure washer, big job or small job, and you need it cleaned, this may be the apparatus for you guys. Stay tuned.